And we are back. I hope that you took that time to make sure that you wrote three complete questions. Um, One of the, you can't say, uh, I don't have any questions. You have to have a question. There are tons of questions that you can ask about what you're getting ready to read. So if you wrote, I don't have any questions, or nah, or no questions, please go back and write three questions. You have to have a question. There are so many questions that you can ask. I really want to know who Odysseus really is, why Poseidon was so mad at him, why it took him so long to get home, why Penelope didn't marry somebody else. There's so many questions that you could have asked. So saying you don't have a question was not an option. So if you did, you have my permission to stop right now this video and go and write actual questions. You know who I'm talking to? Yep, I'm talking to you. Okay, so let's go directly into understanding our inferences. Of course, I forgot to mention you're going to need your handout. So I already have it, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you where to get it. And it's looking like Aldine is tripping right now. Schoology is tripping right now, but hopefully we can at least get through the video. It's located under your Friday folder. Friday. Yep. And then under the do now, there's going to be a video here. This video is going to be here. And you're going to click right on Odyssey Day 1 assignment. Of course, as you remember, it's going to be right here where it says My Documents. Not here, but right here. Okay? So, I already have it up. So, I'm just going to go to my copy and attempt to split this screen. Let me attempt to split this screen. Okay. All right, there we are. Okay, so understanding inferences. How to make inferences in reading or while reading, for reading, beyond reading, actually. What you probably may know or may not know, you make inferences all of the time. Because we always jump into conclusions. You may not ever speak it out loud, but you make assumptions about people. You make assumptions about situations. If you look down a dark alley, right? You be like, "Nah, I'm not gonna go down there. It looks like it's dangerous." That's one of the things that come to your mind. That right there is an inference. It is an inference. It is something that you are gathering from movies, whether it's actual experience, that you know about dark alleys that don't sit right with your spirit, right? It doesn't feel good to walk down that dark alley. So your mind tells you, it takes the background information that you already know, and then what the evidence is what you see right in front of you, and it's saying, we're not going down there. It's dangerous. Something bad is going to happen. Something bad can happen. That is an inference. So our key points. Making an inference involves using what you know to make a guess about what you don't know, or reading between the lines. Let's go back to our dark alley analogy, right? So, like I said, you know from movies, you know from maybe even experience, maybe you been down dark alley and something bad happened, or you know somebody personally who went down a dark alley and something bad happened. But for the most part, you know from movies. If you never had it your first hand experience, you know from experience through movies that dark alleys, either people getting hurt, they taking your stuff. It's just dark alleys are just naturally a scary thing, something that you learned growing up. First of all, being scared of the dark as a child. Some of us still are, but we won't talk about that because you know what? Sometimes Mrs. McCoy could be afraid of the dark. It depends. If I can't see my hands, it's too dark. So I'm just gonna name that. But you know it with dark, that doesn't sit right with you from a young child because you can't see anything. And then walking down the alley where you don't know what's on the left, you don't know what's on the right. So something you know, you're taking your background knowledge and you're applying it to the situation. And so, and you're making a guess. A guess is an inference. You're making an inference that I don't know what's down that alley. So about what you don't know. I don't know what's down that alley. I really don't know. It could be rainbows and sunshine and a lucky leprechaun giving me a pot of gold. But I'm not going to go down that alley because reading between the lines, it don't look like rainbows and sprinkles and ice cream and cookies and cakes and pies is down that alley. So you don't go down the alley. That is simply what you're doing in reading. You are taking what you know and making a guess about what you don't know. So you're reading in between the lines. You're just taking the story and saying, okay, the cat in the hat, right? Everybody knows stories of the cat in the hat. At least most of us do. And so it says the cat in the hat. Just that title. Let's just take the title, the cat in the hat. We know what a cat looked like because we've seen them all around. Maybe some of us have them. We know what a hat looks like. Maybe we've worn them. Uh maybe we've seen them. Maybe our friends wear them. Maybe our family wear them. Maybe we've seen them at the store. We don't have to see. You don't have to know exactly what the story is going to be about. You don't have to like read the story to know that the cat in the hat is about a story about a cat that has a hat on their head or either inside of a hat. You'll make these different types of guess when you are making inferences. The information that you know what a cat is, you know what a hat is. Information that you don't know what the story is going to be about. But it seemed like that's your guess. It's going to be about a cat that's inside of a hat. That is just that simple, guys. So for our key points, I've already written them out here just to make it a little bit easier and faster. So you're making an inference involves using what you know. Okay, you're going to have a blank line here. So you just put no. To make a guess, it's a blank line here about what you don't know or reading between the lines. So in fill in the blanks, you're going to put no, guess, don't know, reading between the lines. Second key point. Again, you are basically using your schema. That word, building background knowledge, prior knowledge is your schema. So I wanted us to get used to using the word instead of saying prior knowledge because it helps us to, it's a professional or academic vocabulary. And I want you to put this in your academic or vocabulary, right? I want you to put it in your academic vocabulary so that as you develop into the awesome human being that you're going to be and that you are, you can use this word as saying, oh, prior knowledge, and say, oh, I'm activating my schema. Right? So you're basically using your schema combined with textual evidence. This is when we talk about reading. You're using your prior knowledge and you're combining it with the evidence that you get the main ideas, the main points and the key ideas. Remember, we talked about that 2 days ago. The main points and the key ideas, which along with your background knowledge, and you're making an assumption, you're making a conclusion. You're saying, hey, this is what it's going to be about. This is what the author is talking about, right? So in our notes, you are basically using your schema. You're going to fill in the blank, combined with textual evidence and forming a conclusion. That is what inferences are. So our criteria for success, of course, we're going to do some annotations today. So we're reading the Odyssey by Homer, and we're going to underline the names of people, places, and things that help us to build background knowledge. We're going to highlight details in yellow that stands out and help us to make inferences. And then we're going to write a 10-word gist that summarizes what just happened. Then we're going to answer the guiding questions in one complete sentence. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop the split screen, and we're just going to go straight into the actual reading of the lesson. Okay. Okay. So again, we are underlining the names of people, places, and things that help us to build background knowledge. We're highlighting details in yellow that stands out and help us to make inferences. We're going to write a 10-word gist, not 2 words, not 3 words. Remember, we talked about making what makes a summary, what makes a gist, and 2 and 3 words don't cut it. So make sure that you do at least 10 words. I'll even let you get by with 8, but it can't be 2 and 3 words to summarize each chunk of the text, which is for us, they're stanzas because it's a poem. And then answer the guiding questions in one complete sentence. I am going to allow a recording to read it to you because there's a lot of old English, and I'm not the expert on old English, and so I don't want to say the words incorrectly, so that you can have a better understanding of the words. So I'm going to go ahead and play it, and I'll stop it and help you with the annotations as we go along.
Sing in me, Muse, and through me tell the story of that man skilled in all ways of contending, the wanderer, harried for years on end after he plundered the stronghold on the proud height of Troy. He saw the town.
All right, so let's stop right there. Sing in me, Muse. Muse is capitalized, and so even though we know it's a word, it's also here a name. And it didn't read this portion, which I was hoping that it would, but it says in the opening verses, Homer addresses the muse of epic poetry. He asked her help in telling the tale of Odysseus, right? So sing in me, Muse. Muse is a her. It's a person who inspires poetry, epic poetry. And so we're going to underline muse. We're going to underline story. It's a thing. We know that that's what we're getting ready to read. A story of the man skilled in all ways of contending. The wanderer harried for years on end after he plundered. We looked up plundered. We know plundered is pretty much stealing things in an act of war or civil unrest. So the stronghold on the proud height of Troy. Troy is a city or town in Greece, a city in Greece. Or so I'm going to highlight things that stand out to me. After he plundered the stronghold, I'm going to highlight that because I know from my vocabulary building exercises that plundered means stole. So apparently it just, for me, it just stand out to me because apparently some man stole something, something. So that's why it stands out to me. So the gist or the summary I'm going to put here is the author asked Muse to help him to write the story about man skilled and always a contending. I will highlight that as well because that sounds like a great man. Ways of contending. He's skilled in all ways of fighting and wandering. And he has been for a long time, here for years on end. That means it has been for a long time. About a great man. what I'm going to put. Okay, so the guided question here is, what is Homer asking of the muse? Homer is asking the muse to help him to write the story. That's it. Let's move on to the next stanza.
And learned the minds of many distant men, and weathered many bitter nights and days in his deep heart at sea, while he fought only to save his life, to bring his shipmates home. But not by will nor valor could he save them, for their own recklessness destroyed them all. Children and fools, they killed and feasted on the cattle of Lord Helios, the sun. And he who moves all day through heaven took from their eyes the dawn of their return. Of these adventures, Muse, daughter of Zeus, tell us in our time. Lift the great song again.
All right. So, again, we're going to underline the people, places, and things. Townlands, that's some type of place, or looks like it's a place of many distant men, or weathered many bitter nights and days in his deep heart at sea. That's a place. While he fought only to save his life to bring his shipmates, obviously people, right, home, but not by will nor valor could he save them. Lord Helios, which we see here, is the sun, and he moves all day through heaven. Of the adventures, Muse. And then we also find out that Muse is the daughter of Zeus. So I will underline all of that. And he asked her again to tell her in their time, right? So what stands out to me is daughter of Zeus, because I know from my background information that we did that Zeus is the king of the gods. And so Muse is his daughter. So that stands out to me. What also stands out to me is this great man fought to save his life, his shipmates' life, and to bring them home, but they were reckless. And they killed a lot of people and ate a lot of food. So basically they was partying like rock stars. And this man's trying to save their life and get them home, and all they want to do is party like rock stars. So that's why it stands out to me. So here I can infer, when I make my gist, that the great man, the author is going to tell us about is responsible for a group of men who likes to party, but he wants to go home. Right? Also, the author asks Muse again to help him to tell the story. And we're going to infer that he wants, the reason why he's asking Muse to help him to tell the story is so that he can tell it correctly. He can get all his facts straight. Otherwise, why would he need her? So to help him to tell the story, and include all of the facts. What I'm going to do here is highlight in orange my inference. Okay? Let's see what happened next. The next excerpt says selling from Troy. I'm not sure if the reader's going to read it, so I'm going to. Now, we talked about before the war, right? We talked about during the war, and now we're talking about after the war. It says 10 years after the Trojan War, Odysseus departs from the goddess Calypso's island. He arrives in Phaeacia, ruled by Alcinous. Alcinous offers a ship to Odysseus and asks him to tell of his adventures. So let's see what happens next.
Sailing from Troy. 10 years after the Trojan War, Odysseus departs from the goddess Calypso's island. He arrives in Phaeacia, ruled by Alcinous. Alcinous offers a ship to Odysseus and asks him to tell of his adventures. I am Laertes' son, Odysseus. Men hold me formidable for guile in peace and war. This fame has gone abroad to the sky's rim.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. Simple, just three little lines, right? I am Loretta's son. So now we're getting into who is talking. The he's already asked the muse to help him write the story. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. This is the story. So first thing we find out is I am Laertes' son, Odysseus, right? So we want to underline that. And we also want to underline sky's rim, right? Because that has to be a place. What I want to highlight is men hold me formidable for guile and peace and war. This fame has gone abroad to the sky's rim. The reason why I'm highlighting that is because in this little excerpt, we find, based on our background knowledge of what happened, we watched a summary of the Odyssey. We talked about it on several occasions. What happened in the Odyssey? This says men hold me formidable. Formidable is they hold me accountable. They hold me accountable for guile. Guile is cunning or trickery, right? When you tricking people a lot. In peace and war. This fame has gone abroad to the sky's rim. The sky's rim means like beyond the sky. And so we know in mythology, they believed in gods and goddesses. So if it's gone abroad to the sky's rim, this means that not only do the people on earth, all the men hold him accountable for things that happen in peace and war, but the gods and goddesses know his name. And we know this because we found out in our background information that a lot of gods either helped him or were against him, and goddesses were helped him or against him during his journey to get home. So for my gist, I'm going to put the great man, and we can infer that because that's the information that we receive above. The great man is Odysseus. He is well known for his trickery and amongst men, and I want to put that in capital letters, and amongst the gods and goddesses. That's a big deal, guys, for to be known by everybody. especially the gods and goddesses, because these people are the ones who everybody else is praying to. And so while everybody else trying to hope to that the gods and goddesses know their name, everybody know who Odysseus is, right? Okay. So who is Odysseus speaking to? We know from the person who's reading, as well as our little excerpt here, which I read, he goes to Phaeacia, ruled by Alcinous. Alcinous is the individual who he's speaking with. He's asking for help. So he said, so Alcinous, you see, he offers a ship and asks him to tell him of his adventures. So now that's when you move into Odysseus saying, well, this is who I am. This is why who know me, how they know me. So Odysseus is speaking to Alcinous. Now, when you're writing your answers, remember that you're writing them in complete sentences. I don't want you to put, oh, Alcinous. No. Odysseus is speaking to Alcinous, ruler of Phaeacia. Right? Right. Let's move on to the next one. I'm going to do two more with you. Three more. I'm going to do all of Selling to Troy, and then I'm going to let you Falcons Fly to do the Lotus Eaters on your own for your independent work. Okay. I'm also going to attach in your Schoology a link to the read along. That way you'll be able to not you won't have to read it on your own. You'll have the person in the background, just like in this video. You have the person in the background reading the story as you read along. Okay. Let's see what happens next.
My home is on the peaked sea mark of Ithaca, under Mount Neon's wind-blown robe of leaves, in sight of other islands, Dulichium, Sami, wooded Zacynthus, Ithaca being most lofty in that coastal sea and northwest, while the rest lie east and south. A rocky isle, but good for a boy's training. I shall not see on earth a place more dear, though I have been detained long by Calypso, loveliest among goddesses, who held me in her smooth caves to be her heart's delight, as Circe of Aea, the enchantress, desired me, and detained me in her hall. But in my heart I never gave consent. Where shall a man find sweetness to surpass his own home and his parents? In far lands he shall not, though he find a house of gold.
All right, so we're going to stop right there. We're going to underline people are nouns, people, places, things. Ithaca, Mount Neon. There's a lot of nouns in here, guys, because he's talking about his home. You talk about the islands, Dilcium. I'm just going to underline all of this, right? I'm going to underline Calypso. We know that is a name because she is a goddess, so we're going to just underline all of that. Going to underline Circe of Aea. I believe that's the way he said it. We know, and then it says that she's the enchantress. So not only was he captivated or captured by Calypso, he was also captured by Circe of Aea. So he's a real life ladies man over here. And yeah, those are the things I'm going to underline. What stands out to me is the fact that he was detained long by Calypso, right? I'm also going to underline how he feels. I'm not underline, but highlight how he feels about home. And he seems like he's saying it. He's very endearing when he speaks about home. He said, "A good for a boy's training, rocky but good. Reminds me of the America poem by Clyde McKay. Then I see where should a man find sweetness to surpass his own home and parents? He's like, it's no place like home. Basically, I get there's no place like home vibes there. And fair lands he shall not, though he find a house of gold. Like he may have found a house of gold, he may find nice lands, but there's no place like home. And that right there is actually an inference that I'm getting. He didn't say that. It's not explicitly stated there. I'm drawing a conclusion that Odysseus loves his home. He finds it endearing. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say Odysseus describes his home town. Let's say home. Let's put this. Odysseus describes his home and the places he grew up in. He tells us how much he loves his home, even though he had not been there for such a long time. Also, I want to put, I find out that he was detained by a goddess, and that's uh, Calypso. We can put that. And an enchantress with Circe. Right? So where my inference came in is that he tells us how much he loves his home. And so I'm going to take that and I'm going to highlight it in orange because he doesn't say I love my home, but that's the inference that I'm making from the background knowledge that I know when people start talking about talk about their home and the way they speak when they talk about their home and the text evidence, which is the sweetness to surpass all of that. And then I'm drawing a conclusion that he loves his home. The guiding question we have here is what kept Odysseus against his will, or who kept Odysseus against his will on her island. We saw that in Detain Me in Her Hall. And so on the island, we find that it was Calypso right up here. Smooth case. And then we can also put Circe, but the correct answer I'm looking for is Calypso. So the goddess, remember we're using complete synthesis. Calypso kept Odysseus and his in on her island. All right, let's see the next stanza.
What of my sailing then from Troy? What of those years of rough adventure weathered under Zeus? The wind that carried west from Ilium brought me to Ismarus, on the far shore, a strong point on the coast of Cicones. I stormed that place and killed the men who fought. Plunder we took, and we enslaved the women to make division equal shares to all. But on the spot I told them, back, and quickly, out to sea again. My men were mutinous, fools, on stores of wine. Sheep after sheep they butchered by the surf and shambling cattle feasting, while fugitives went inland, running to call to arms the main force of Cicones. This was an army trained to fight on horseback or where the ground required on foot. They came with dawn over that terrain like the leaves and blades of spring. So doom appeared to us, dark word of Zeus for us, our evil days. My men stood up and made a fight of it, backed on the ship.
Pause. Okay, so let's go back. First thing again, you want to make sure you underline your nouns. So Troy, obviously. What am I selling from Troy? Remember, they after the Trojan War, that's where they were at. They were in the city of Troy. Zeus, we know that is the king of gods. Brought me to Isthmus. That's another city. That's the town that they ended up in, or island they ended up at. Stormport on the coast of Sicilus. Another noun. Underline that. We're going to underline plunder because it is a thing. It's actually a verb, but no, we're going to leave it because it's a verb. Sicilus again. Let's underline army. Okay, so that's what we're going to underline. Now, the things that stand out to me and help me to make inferences are they went to Isthmus, right? So that helps me. Okay, so they didn't go straight home. They stopped off to another island, right? To another city. They stormed the place and killed the men and plundered and took and all of these things here. This helps me to make an inference. Okay, so they went to this island or this city and they decided to take the place, steal, plunder, enslave the women, take the men, take the men's women, and then share up, divvy up all these things. Mind you, they just left from winning the war. So they probably, feel all kind of buffed up, proud, and they think they could take on the world because they just, conquered Troy. So that I'm thinking about my background knowledge and I'm thinking about what this text is telling me. So it seems like they like really buffed up and they're thinking they can take on the world. So that helps me to make an inference. And then I see right here, I apologize. It helps me to make an inference. The men were mutinous fools on stores of wine. And so I see right here, I told them back and quickly out to sea again. And so this, reminds me of what he said. He said that in the beginning, he tells us how he tries to help his men, right? Right here in the stanzas 21 and 37, he says, is it 21, 27? Oh no, that's not the area. It is when we first, if this thing ever comes up. Okay, right here. Before we went into selling to Troy, he was saying the Homer tells us that he fought only to save his life and to bring his shipmates home. It reminds me of that stanza. So going back down to where we are, it says that Odysseus tells us that he told them to hurry up. Let's go back to the boat because we didn't got everything we're going to get. Let's get back to the boat. But his men, again, the rock stars here, they were mutinous fools and stores of wine. So they were stores of wine, mean they were drunk. So they wasn't just tipsy, they were drunk because stores of wine mean a lot of wine. And so they were drunk and acting like fools and were like, nah, we gonna stay right here. We got women, we got food, we got everything we can want. We gonna stay right here. Who gonna check us? We already killed all these men. So they butchered sheep and cattle and having a whole party again, rock stars. But what I want to highlight is fugitives went inland. So the people that they couldn't kill, that they didn't kill, people who ran away. Remember, we found out fugitives. We did the definition of fugitives there. People that they couldn't kill, people they didn't, people that was escaped. They escaped their wrath or escaped their killing. They went inside of the island. So they went in the middle of the island and they called the arms the main force of Sissinus. So this means that they went and got the people. They went and got their people. Like it's like, oh, y'all think y'all slick, huh? Let me go and get my people. So that's what happened. They went inside. They was getting drunk, and they didn't realize that the people that they didn't get a chance to kill went back and was telling the real army, the army that the main army, that hey, come and help us. These men are killing us all and taking our women and stealing our goods. So I'm going to highlight that section. And then I'm going to also, last thing I want to highlight is, so doom appeared to us, dark word of Zeus for us are evil days. And so I'm highlighting this because I know who Zeus is. And so it seems like dark word of Zeus for us are evil days. It seems like he's saying that Zeus made it that they were, attacked or something happened. Seemed like something bad is about to happen. Something is about to go down, right? Okay, so for our gist, we're going to put that Odysseus and his crew stops at an island, and I don't want to say destroy, let's say plunder. Let's use our vocabulary word: plundered, murdered, and took their women. How about that? After, no, say then they got drunk and had a party. This is an inference, guys. They got drunk and had a party. Uh, what happened next? Those who didn't die and escaped them went to find help. That's what's happening in this little excerpt. My inference here is they got drunk and had a party. I'm going to highlight that in orange. Right? So the question is, what is Odysseus expressing about how he and his men felt about their enemy? Right? So where we see this is so doom appeared to us. Dark raiders Zeus for us are evil days. So it seems like to me at first they were like not afraid, but then they became very afraid. So at first, Odysseus and his men were not afraid because they conquered the men, the enemy. They can see. However, it seems when bigger army was summoned, they became very afraid. That's it. So the final one before I let you go, we're going to talk about, see what happened about their men.
With lances kept in play from bright morning through the blaze of noon, holding our beach, although so far outnumbered. But when the sun passed toward unyoking time, then the Achaeans one by one gave way. 6 benches were left empty in every ship that evening when we pulled away from death. And this new grief we bore with us to sea. Our precious lives we had, but not our friends. No ship made sail next day until some shipmate had raised a cry 3 times for each poor ghost unfleshed by the Saconis on that field.
All right. So I want to underline the Achaeans, the Sakunis, and I want to highlight the fact that they stood up and they tried to fight, and then they tried to run away back to the ships. I want to highlight that because at first they were the big bad wolf and then partying like rock stars. Then when more of the army came, because we found out here that they were outnumbered. So I want to highlight that they realized that okay, we're gonna hold our own. We're gonna try to stand up. Even though this is not a war or a battle that we can win, we're gonna still try to hold our own until we can get back to our ship. So I want to also do the Assyrians one by one gave way because that to me sounds like they were dying. Because when we get here, it says 6 benches were left empty in every ship that even when we pulled away from death. So imagine how many benches are in an actual warship. So when they go out to war, there's plenty of benches inside of a ship. Remember, they just came from the Trojan War and they stopped off to the Sakunis Island, right? So they stopped off there. So now they're like 6 benches worth of people short. And again, I apologize. I don't know what's going on today. I'm becoming very popular this morning. But they bore a new grief with them to see. So they got away. Yeah, so I'm gonna highlight that they got away, but apparently they got away without their friends. Right? So I'm gonna highlight that. What I want to write for my gist or my summary is Odysseus and his men fought, but were outnumbered. They lost a lot of warriors or soldiers. And were saddened by it. Okay? Now, you are going to finish up with the Lotus Eaters section the the poem. And so there's about 1, 2, 3, 4 stanzas left for day 1 from book 1 of the Odyssey, right? After you do that, right, you are going to next steps complete the Odyssey day 1 assignment, and then you're going to do your exit ticket. Okay, that is all you will need to do for today. I know it's a lot of work, it's a lot of reading, and it can be overwhelming, but hopefully you at least begin to enjoy the story because it's not a horrible story, In the meantime, in between time, go be great. Let's get this work done so you can have a fantabulous weekend. Like I said in some of my live sessions, I'm giving you into Sunday to do. I did extend it from Friday to Sunday, and I'm going to try that out and see how that works. And if it seems like you guys are now making it Monday, Tuesday, then I have to keep it back on Friday. Okay. But in the meantime, in between time, have a great weekend. Bye.